time around, to make sure that we don't have a drop on my electrical equipment, my microphone. When we do the microphone thing, I was noticing if I accidentally zap it with electrical charge of any sort, which includes zapping my speakers, end up with the weirdest things, like it just drops completely. So I'm still loading everything, but I did notice one trick, which is if I open Adobe Audition, when it drops, Audition says, hey, your equipment's changed. Do you want to change it back? And I say, yes. And then we reconnect and everything's fine. So that's what we're going to do. So today, we've turned in the Ilios for what we were working on for the last 3 days. We finished it yesterday, and we turned it in, and they seemed pretty happy about it. So I'm going to let them go ahead and look it over and make a decision. So today I'm going to be working on another piece that I've got going on here. This is a piece that I drew a long time ago. And I say that, although really it's only 5 years old. But I drew it, and it's in pencil mode, but it's never been inked. I did start inking it with Brian a while back, and all I really ended up doing was not saving it somehow, and I don't know how that happened, so I get to start all over again, which is all right. It gives you something to watch. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to do that, and here we go. I'm going to go on ahead and share the screen so you can see what we're doing. Here we go. Now, I'm going to set up. There we go. Yeah, I like to go back to old drawings too, although I don't necessarily redo them per se, but in this instance, there was never a do in the first place, and it's kind of aggravating. I'm going to check my canvas size, because I see a lot of top in the bottom here. I'm not sure whether it's at the right resolution. Yeah, it says 8.5 by 11. I really don't want that. So it's going to be 17, not 71. Right? Actually, we want image size, not canvas size. Okie dokie. Here we go. So we want this to be an 11 by 17 piece. Take the biggest size. It's 17 by 13, which makes me think that it's weirdly too wide. I don't know what that's all about. Or weirdly too tall. So then we go into canvas size. Say inches. Let me say 11. And then it's going to say, oh no! Yeah, that's fine. We're good. And that's where we should be. All right. So now we've got it at least sized properly. I'll give myself a new layer, and I'll call this my ink layer. Give myself another layer right here. And this is what I call my onion skin layer. Onion skinning is an animation term where they put they do all of their animation bits in levels. So, but they put onion skin paper between it. And the onion skin paper is what I think normal humans call tracing paper. But the onion skinning paper makes it easy for them to do the in-betweening frames, because they can see through many layers of the paper and decide, what they're doing. Digitally, I do something very similar, by putting in this onion skin level. This allows me to look at the complete picture and not look at the picture. I can adjust the level between it without disturbing the ink layer at all. Right? So now I have boonk, boonk. I actually did this yesterday. I couldn't figure out how to get all of these brushes moved around. And I figured it out last night right after my broadcast. But you can actually just click and drag these guys around. And I didn't know that until last night. So now I've taken, and you can even start your own little, I did right here, I started my own little folder called Guys Brushes. And I'm sticking all my brushes in here so I can do all of this. Okay, since I'm not sketching, I can skip my sketch pencils. I'm going to go straight to my inking pencils. These are inking. These aren't inking. These are inking brushes. And I'll just start working the picture here. Now, one of the things that I had done in the other one, I try to do everything in that is closest to me first. So I see all of this wreckage of an arrow right here. So I'm going to get that first, right? This chaos that's going on. And this is going to dictate how the art behind it works, right? So I got this broken and split arrow that's going all over the place here. The arrows are striking the tree and flying around a lot. And so this is to represent arrows going everywhere. Hey, Raph, how you doing, man? Good to see you. So Raph wanted to ink this picture too. So this is good practice for both of us. What I was saying, Raph, was I usually work from the front row to the back row. So I've got kind of all this junk that's going on in the front, including this arrow, which is coming in. There we go. Get that little arrowhead in there. When I originally drew this, the character, this is a role-playing game character that I have done. And I like the piece a lot because it turned out really nice. But there are a couple of things that in the intervening 5 years, this particular character has had some changes that make some logical sense. The game itself was... I thought you had a copy of this, Raph. I'm sorry. I can give you a copy of that. It's not a problem at all. The game was very much a Wild Wild West game. You know, it was supposed to be... We had a train, and it was the Wild West or whatever. And we were on the train, and we had a character that was very similar to the characters in Wild Wild West, the TV show. Although the movie isn't really that bad of a movie either, but I hear that I don't remember. I know I've seen the movie, but now I've gotten to the point where I can't remember anymore. But this particular character, her name is Evelyn, and she's a pistolero. And this was early on in her career, because she's got, obviously, a flintlock going here. But Evelyn's character was... I want to say she was Crow, maybe Blackfeet. Anyway, she was adopted which I think is the kind way of saying stolen. She was adopted by a frontiersman who took her in and raised her like a frontiersman, but she's clearly native, and it made for some very interesting things because later on in her life, see you later, David. Good to see you, man. Later on in her life, she started to readopt some of the things. She didn't know her original family. I think, if I remember the backstory of her character, she was... this is a long time ago for this character, and I've had a lot of characters since then. The backstory of the character, she was adopted when she was really, really young and couldn't, so she never had any interaction with the native tribes until later. And then she was a diplomat and worked with it, but she was too much of a hothead as far as a character goes. So she couldn't stay diplomat forever. So she ended up going out and becoming a gunslinger. Things kind of rolled out with her. She was a definite hothead character. Way, way, way too mad at everything. But it was interesting because this character perpetually had to have two rolls against her every time anybody interacted with her. And to roll to see if they would treat her differently because she was native, and then they had to roll to see if they would treat her differently because she was female. She ended up shooting a lot of people. That's sort of the end of it on this character. There are a lot of people who got shot because she got fed up with that. Didn't take her long for her to get fed up with all of the above. It's kind of funny. I like this character. She was cool. Kind of miss playing her. And she was a heck of a shot. I like the fact that in this drawing, I made her hair all curly. I don't know what I was thinking about why her hair was curly, I guess. I was trying to think of whether that was something she had done at the time to disguise herself to make it not so obvious that she was native, but then she's got all these beads and things like that. I'm like, I don't know what she's doing. But these look like French design. This looks less native and more French. So I don't know. We're getting to that point in my life now where I don't remember what I was doing whenever I drew things anymore. I don't even know what I was up to. Well, that's life, I guess. Hey, Raph, if I stop talking for a long period of time, let me know. Because my microphone dies, and I try to keep an ongoing dialogue while I'm doing these things so that I'm going to talk a little bit about this and stuff. But if you don't hear me for an extended period of time, go, hey, is your mic off? Because it might be. I'm going to go ahead and change her hair back to a straight haircut. This very much changes the dynamic of her face and very much changes where her face is. So I've got to be careful about how I do this. Sometimes it changes it so much. So, the good news is we're just inking here. So, I mean, it's not like it's critical, but it is on the computer. So that helps a whole lot. So this is, she's tearing open a gunpowder packet here to reload her flintlock. And they often, back in these days, had these packets in, they were little pouches. I'm not even sure if they were paper. They might not have been. But they had these pouches that you tore open, which I found fascinating. And I think that's why I put her with a flintlock, even though she has, I know that she was decked out with 2 Colts, 2 Colt revolvers that she used quite a bit. She had a long rifle she'd use too, but that was usually whenever she got aggravated with people and had to shoot them from a long distance away. So we got beads here. I can't remember what the beads meant. She meant something with these beads, but they look cool. Maybe that was what that meant. Maybe there's no meaning behind it at all. Just look cool. I often wear things that just look cool, and that's just the way it is. And these characters are often a reflection of some aspect of me anyway, so that makes some sense. So, kind of going along here, this pouch is being torn, so we're gonna, and she's got it in her tooth there. Since I'm manga style, that tooth gets, they always do the more elaborate canine incisor thing. Hey, Brian, good to see you, man. I have to redo this piece. You know why I have to redo this piece? Because I didn't save it. Oh, well. That's all right. I wasn't doing so good anyway. This is going to be the most done piece of mine because I'm going to do this. I've done this twice now. Raph wants to do this picture, and he's having, and so like the most done, overdone, over-inked piece that I've ever had. Hey, Brian, I figured out how to sort all of my brushes. I now have a guy's brushes. Look at that. I have like all the main brushes that I use, all sorted. Apparently, it's really, really hard. You click and you drag it, and that's all you do. I was looking for like this very elaborate way of how this stuff was working, and it turns out that it was just stupidly simple. So there's that. Why are you like this? What's your problem? So Brian and I will be after this one. After this broadcast at about 11:15. We're going to co-draw. And then she's particularly mad. I think she's mad at being shot at by arrows. She found arrows to be somewhat aggravatingly slow and stupid. And she had disdain for arrows as a character. It had a lot to do with the fact that she was pretty deadly with a gun. So there we go. Coming in here. I think I need to adjust the eyes slightly high. That's cute. Sometimes I get like weird anomalies, and I'm not sure what that is. Like that's not the first time that's happened, where all of a sudden the pressure sensitivity just stops. I had that same problem with my Surface as well. I'm not exactly sure what was happening there. Nice. Really? There's no pressure hardness at all on this? Okay, whatever. Okay, so got that going for us. At some point, I want to color this piece as well. So, Brian, do we know what we're going to talk about today on our show? I'm curious because I actually have no clue. So, we're going along here. Brian's got an interesting technique to prevent all of this recolor that I've got to do, but I often go back in anyway and check to make sure I've got, highlights and shine and stuff like that, because since she has the very, very coarse and straight hair, it's going to be extremely shiny, right? So it's going to be coarser and straighter and very shiny. Shiny hair. I like shiny hair. It's cute. Mostly because, like I often say, everybody wants the things they didn't get in their genetic makeup. My hair is very thin and not very robust. So I always kind of envied people who had the thicker hair. Which is funny, because every time I talk to people with thicker hair, they're all like, wish I didn't have thicker hair. And I'm like, yeah, see, just people just don't want what they have. Get all adjusted to all the problems that you have with your hair. And you're like, oh, your hair's so cool. And I'm like, eh. Nominal for everybody. All right. Well, we can work on character design and stuff like that if you want during our program. Okay, she needs a thumb. She actually does not have this much cleavage. It's just that she's all bunched up over here. So, since she's squeezing her arms together across her chest to pull this packet so she can rip the packet off. So there was this mission that they were on. This is my warm-up, Brian. This is my warm-up. There was this mission that they were on, and she had to wear all this foo-foo clothing that she hated. And then that's when they got ambushed. And so this is her in her foo-foo clothing, which is showing an awful lot of cleavage. A lot more cleavage than she was, as a character, comfortable wearing. Very funny. But they couldn't convince her to put a dress on. All of that, and they could not convince her to get it into a dress. It was very funny. They were trying to get her to put a dress on and be more ladylike. That didn't end well. So, okay. I got a lot of stress on this arm, trying to show a lot of that stress that's going on in this arm right here on the clothing. Okay. It takes a long time to ink something. Yeah. Sexy girls are one thing. Characters are a different thing altogether. I've done pinups. That was fun. Someday, Brian, I'll have to show you my strawberry cheesecake picture that I did as a competition. It was very disturbing, actually. It was somewhat disturbing, now that I think about it. But it was pretty funny. And characters end up with their own personalities, and you remember them more for their personalities. I find that kind of interesting, too. I'm really just trying to find something to say at this point in time so that you guys all know my microphone hasn't died. All right. There we go. You know, I don't like this brush. I think I'm just going to... I have the hard lines brush, but I think I'm just going to do this with because I get that way I can get a lot more expression, especially if I'm talking about her hair here. Nope. That just sucked. Okay, don't do that ever again. I'm like, well, this could look good. No, it doesn't. Okay, well, that's fine. I'm good. I'm good with that. Okay, happy little trees. This is the highlight shine on her hair. Go through like that. Maybe? I don't know. And her hair is bundled underneath this, so that's going to be difficult. That's really what it is. It's like coming up and around like this. See you later, Raph. Thank you. Go chase the kiddo. Okay. There we go. Better. Now I'll go out here on her arm. Trying to decide if that's hair. Gotcha. Okay. So, Brian, are you all warmed up and ready to draw? We're going to be doing that next. She's got good trigger discipline here. There we go. Let me get that through here. I do think she had a flintlock first. I'm trying to remember. Seems like I remember her having the flintlock. I mean, like, legitimately. I know she had a flintlock. I mean, I'm looking at this flintlock, and I clearly... Oh, good. I clearly was... I mean, this is very highly detailed. A lot of stuff that I don't think I could have just done on whim. I'm looking at... I mean, I see the firing pin and the trigger. So I'm assuming that I looked this up. Anytime I look something up on the internet to make sure I've got an accurate picture, this is not just some whim. So This had to have been something. The problem is that the era that they lived in was 1860, 1870. And I know she could have gotten her hands on a much better gun. I know that because she had dual Colts for a long time that she was dual wielding in the game. Which implies to me that this is either early. It must have been early on. Can't remember if maybe early on she had a flintlock, and I guess she must have. Have to see if my GM will pop onto one of these things someday. That'd be nice. I'd be able to ask him. GM would be my co-host from Geek Tank, Troy. He was the GM on this game. This character was very much my classic female character that I always seem to have been. And so she was the last of the sort of super dark and bitter and angry hothead characters. And from that, after she was created, I started using random character generators to make characters. Because I was like, I am playing the same character every time. That's all I'm doing. So now I use random character generators to make my character. She's the last of my, Alanis Morissette sort of angry at the world characters, which I think I was expressing my teenage angst back in the days being a teenager. And so it just never really changed. It's funnier to play fluffheads now. Or whatever is going on. So there we go. Put in some of the wood grain on that. Coming down here. And she carried a cutlass for a while, but didn't stay. She swapped it out for a long gun at one point in time. But I remember her having the cutlass. So there's that. Kind of going along under here. What I'm trying to do here is just get the essence of this belt loop and everything like that. This is she's got a pouch on it. So I get to be Rob Liefeld for a little bit here. A new pouch. Somebody did a superhero that cracked me up, and it was Pouch Man. And it was just pouch after pouch after pouch after pouch. And I was like, oh, somebody's making a knock at Rob Liefeld. And that cracked me up a lot. I mean, not because necessarily I like people who take digs at Rob Liefeld. That said, I do like taking digs at Rob Liefeld. However, you can't do pouches unless you are mentioning Rob Liefeld. It's like a comic book requirement for comic book artists everywhere. All of us have to mention Rob Liefeld while doing pouches. I'm easily entertained. One of the things that I think is so funny is when people talk about inking as being tracing. and all the jokes inherent therein. That cracks me up because, of course, there is a lot of following the same lines when you do inking, but of course it's not the same at all. And so I know that that's the uninitiated, and I also know that that's commonly a trope now because so many people do it. But it is still kind of fun to look at these and show how much effort goes into illustrating on the inking side. I'm not the world's best inker, but it's one of those things where you can definitely see what's going on here. And so you can see that it's not the same as just tracing the pencil underneath it. There's a lot of detail going on and things like that. There's always something here. I'll save. Look at me saving. Aren't you proud of me, Brian? Oh, yeah, I know. Well, and to be fair, this particular sketch was taken. I had the entire game to sketch, and I didn't bring my ink pens. So all I had was my pencil on me for this. So I just sat here and kept drawing her, and then I kept drawing some more. And then I just kept drawing some more, and then I cleaned up the drawing, and then I cleaned up the drawing. And this is like a 5-hour pencil drawing. And so so this means that Raph's not into inking your stuff, you're saying. That's what you're saying, right? But yeah, so this particular drawing, I just kept drawing. Because it's funny, I can't remember as much detail about the character as I do about this drawing. So I really do want to kind of take care with the inking and the coloring on this drawing, because it has a 5-hour pencil underneath it. It seems like it'd be a sad waste to cheapen it with a lousy inking job. You want to keep Raph as a friend, huh? I love you, Brian. Oh, man. What I love is now that we're all kind of all doing the same, we're all in this little fraternity of artists. And we have these strange things we talk about. And I love the fact that you don't think of comic art as something which would have its own language or lingo, but it does. This is a very complex art. And so, you think about some of the stuff, and inking is definitely on the list of difficult jobs to be doing if you don't friends don't let friends ink my drawings. Oh, man, that's funny. That's funny, dude. So Brian and I were supposed to have gotten together yesterday, or at least that's what I said on the broadcast, but it turns out that yesterday was not, in fact, Thursday like I thought it was. And Brian actually does work like a real human, and so I'm sitting here going, yeah, Brian and I are going to get together. We're going to totally do this. It'd be awesome. It's going to be great. We're going to get together in about 5 minutes. Then I messaged Brian, and Brian's like, I'm at work. I'm like, oh yeah, I knew that. I was just testing you. You passed and stuff. I'm not really stupid, honest. It was very funny because I definitely was sure that yesterday was Thursday. I don't know what my problem is. But hey, today is Thursday and we're doing good. I am where I'm supposed to be, doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing, and there is that. So, okay, we're coming down here. So we're at the 45-minute mark, and I have pretty much gotten the top half of her body done. What I'm doing is I lay a lot heavier line down when it's on the underside of the character, and that gives the ability or the appearance that the light's coming from the top. And that it's an inking technique that's very Western. Though I am a manga style artist, I do have like these skill styles that I've picked up from American art that I like. So that's where that's coming from there. I'm going to go over here. Put in the shadow on the tree, because that's going to be like this. This tree shadow. I'm going to give some gap between the tree shadow and her so that it won't, so you can still see her head. Otherwise, her head just vanishes against the shadow. We don't want that. So there'll be a gap there for that. And let the wreckage of the arrow go by. Dang it. Okay. Same thing down here. She is up against this tree. So I'm going to leave some gap there for that. There we go. And down here, I don't have to do that because the shirt she's wearing is white. So I'll come down here and I can actually just do all of that like that. And then just fill that. And that'll work. All right, coming through here, putting this in. It could be either. It could, we do say on Geek Tank that we're not responsible. Geek Tank's not responsible for the opinions of the hosts, but rather it is only responsible for your pizza order. So, and by responsible, that does definitely mean that we won't be taking responsibility necessarily, but we just will be there to say we're sorry that it got screwed up. We will happily apologize for that. And that's the way it works with Geek Tank. So, okay. So I let the natural flow of the brush dictate some of this because it's very organic down here on the rocks and the tree branch and things like that. Because of course this is a living organism, this tree. So I'm just, adjusting my width and on the brush and pressure and stuff like that so that I get some differentiation in the line. And that helps me make it look like a tree. And the trees are not going to be a static line at all. And that makes that look good out there. I'll come down here. And like I said, since it's the bottom, I'm going to really give some thickness to it and really use the benefit of this to the brush pressure to my advantage. And we'll go ahead and do the grass blades. We'll go ahead and back through here, a little bit of highlighting through that. And she took refuge behind this tree. There we go. Alright, we got this branch kind of going, there's root going all the way out to there with a toadstool. My infamous toadstool pictures, because I like the toadstools. I really got into those toadstools. There's way too many toadstools. Alrighty. We're 48 minutes in. Going along here like that. There we go. Right, so now that we've gone down here, when we talk about, we talk about how inking is so important. You can see there's so much more I can express with inking that I can't really express as much on the actual pencil drawing. And you can very much see it here. And that's there's a lot more expression that needs to be put in once we get to the stage where we're inking. It's not just tracing. I like the people who think that inking is tracing, never inked. And I think it's even funnier because I think that particular trope was started by a comic artist, which is more odious. So, got this going here, going here. Kind of making these toadstools interesting looking. If we're going to have toadstools, might as well do it right. Another toadstool over here. number of toadstools in this particular picture exceed the national requirement for toadstools. I'm just saying. There we go. Another toadstool out here. Sometimes the toadstools split. They don't tell you about this in biology class, but it's true. You have split toadstools. Like defective toadstools. There we go. Putting in this toadstool right here. Done. Okay, we're moving along in the picture. Take a look at the picture in itself. Hit the save button. It is 10:52. So we're going to come up on the end of this inking project, and I'll stop it, and we'll continue it tomorrow. We're going to come up, and like I said, if you want to join me and Brian, you'll have to come over to the Facebook side, because Restream is awesome and does a great job in and of itself. But biggest problem with Restream is I can only do one source. I can broadcast to 1,000 zillion different places, but I can only do one source. So in order for Brian and I to share sources, we're going to have to use a different format. I'll probably use StreamYard. Using StreamYard, I can only get to 2 locations. So there's that. So gosh, thanks. I appreciate you guys visiting with me today. We are about a few minutes before the show with Brian, so you can join me there. If you want to join me, I'll be here every day at 10 o'clock on the weekdays. So 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock every weekday, and we're going to just keep moving through the artwork. Got lots of it. So thanks for joining me. I'll talk to you later. Goodbye.